Hey there, it's Jody Sutter of the Sutter Company, and it's Just Ask Jody. It's that time when I take a question from an agency around an issue they're having with business development, and I will answer that question in 4 minutes or less. And today the question is, what advice would I give to an agency that's trying to evaluate whether a potential client is the best fit? So I feel like a lot of times with these questions, I'm always going back to the basics, and this is another example of that type of question. For me, the best way to make sure that a potential client is a good fit for your agency is to go back to how you've defined who your best client is. In other words, go back to your ideal client profile and how you've defined it. Now, the problem is a lot of agencies don't have one, or they have an ideal client profile that's not very clear, or one that's too broad, or maybe they've got half a dozen different ideal client profiles because they're too concerned about potentially missing out on opportunities, and there's this desire to work with everyone. And of course, as we know, if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. So very basic. If you've got a clearly defined description of who your ideal client is, then it's much easier to figure out if that potential client who's knocking on your door is a good fit. And the other thing that I think is really advantageous about this is that if you're clear on who your ideal client is, then you are likely already communicating, you're already sending out marketing messages that are attracting that ideal type of client. In other words, if you're really clear on who your ideal client is and what their business problems tend to be and how you solve those business problems and how you understand their market and their issues, then that's probably already reflected to a certain extent in the way you're communicating on your website or your social media or through your marketing content. It's already doing some work for you to attract clients that, when they interact with that content, are probably pre-qualifying themselves in some way. Because if you're doing it well, they are already recognizing themselves in the issues that you are talking about. That means you are going to have to work less hard to persuade them that you're the right solution once they start to engage with you. And when they do start to engage with you, and you've determined that they fit your ideal client profile, then you get to start to qualify them as to whether they're going to be a good fit for you. So you can start to ask yourself, well, will they be a good partner for you and your team? Have they set themselves up in the way that they've given you a clear brief? Have they given you a fair budget? Do they value the kind of work that you do? I 100% recommend that you have a set of criteria that's right for your agency, and that criteria of how you choose, how you qualify that potential right fit client is going to be different for every agency. But there are some core things that you want to ask. And if it's helpful, I want to start you off with a framework. You can download this free Pitch or Pass scorecard. I'm going to leave the link in the comments below. And that gives you a set of questions that relate back to a lot of what I'm talking about here in this video that you can use as a first step in scoring the right fit, the right fittedness. Is that a word? I don't know. That's it for this Just Ask Jody. If you've got a question you'd like me to answer in another Just Ask Jody, you can email that to me at jody@thesuttercompany.com, and I'll see you next time.